Welcome to Procurement Doodles. Today, we're stepping into a new concept. How do government institutes hire a consultant? The rules come from a key document, the Guidelines for Selection and Employment of Consultants, introduced in August 2007. Let's doodle our way through it, step by step. Ready? Let's go. Have you ever wondered how the government hires experts to build a bridge, design a policy, or supervise a big project? They don't just call a friend. There's a whole set of rules, and today, we're starting from the very beginning. To guide the hiring of consultants, the government published the Guidelines for Selection and Employment of Consultants in August 2007. The details were further illustrated in the Consulting Services Manual, released in November 2007. Together, they cover all types of selection and employment of consultants under these guidelines. We will take step-by-step actions to understand. Here's the truth. A government department doesn't always have the right expertise, knowledge, or enough people to do a complex job. That's when they need to hire outside help, consultants. That's exactly what the guidelines say. The purpose is simple: to give clear procedures for hiring consultants, whether the money comes from Sri Lanka's government or a foreign funding agency. So what should a good consultant hiring process achieve? The guidelines list 8 key objectives. Let's run through them. High-quality services, economy, timeliness, efficiency, following rules and good governance, giving the best consultants a fair chance, following local and international laws, transparency and consistency, anti-corruption and ethics, and keeping consultant information confidential. Number 7 is especially important: anti-corruption and ethics. And number 8, confidentiality, means you don't share one consultant's secrets with another. These guidelines officially replace all previous circulars and financial regulations from the Treasury and the Department of Public Finance. So if you see an old rule somewhere, this is the new boss. The word consultant is very wide here. It includes international and local consulting firms, engineering and architecture firms, management and procurement agents, auditors, universities, research institutes, government agencies, NGOs, and even individual experts. Yes, one person can be a consultant too, if they have the right skills. The guidelines group consulting services into 3 types: advisory services, policy, strategy, restructuring, training; preparation services, feasibility studies, design, master plans; implementation services, bidding documents, construction supervision, project management. But careful, not every service is a consulting service. If the job is mostly physical, like aerial surveys, drilling, or running a computer system, that's actually procured under goods and works rules, not these consultant guidelines. If you're not sure, just ask the National Procurement Agency, or NPA. What if a foreign agency is paying for the project? The guidelines say if that agency has its own rules, then their rules win. If there's a conflict between their guidelines and Sri Lanka's, the foreign agency's guidelines come first. Chapter 1 ends with 4 strict ethical rules: confidentiality, no leaking information; no corruption, don't abuse your position for personal gain; no conflict of interest, if you have a connection to a consultant, step away; no gifts or inducements, consultants can be disqualified for offering bribes. And officials here means anyone involved, from the top officer to the person opening envelopes. Finally, the law that applies to all of this: the laws of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. Chapter 1 sets the stage for everything that follows. Next time, we'll look at who actually makes the decisions: the procurement committees. Until then, remember, good rules make good projects. To summarize, Chapter 1, we discussed why we need rules for hiring consultants. The purpose? When the government lacks expertise or staff, they hire help from local firms, universities, NGOs, or individual experts. There are 8 objectives: quality, economy, timeliness, fairness, transparency, anti-corruption, confidentiality and following laws. +5 ethics. No corruption, no gifts, no conflicts of interest. Keep secrets safe and always follow Sri Lankan law. If a foreign agency funds the project, their rules come first. That's Chapter 1, simple and clean. Let's talk about the main stakeholders in the selection and employment of consultants. First, the NPA, or National Procurement Agency, is now known as the National Procurement Commission. Think of them as the rulemaker and the watchdog. They write the guidelines, update the manuals, approve high-value committees, and monitor the entire system, all to ensure fairness, transparency, and value for money. If you have a question about procurement rules, the NPA, now the NPC, is the ultimate authority. Second, the procuring entity, or PE. The PE is the government body that needs help, a ministry, a department, or a project office. They prepare the terms of reference, estimate the budget, draft the RFP, and manage the whole process from start to finish. In short, the PE is the client who wants to hire a consultant. Chief Accounting Officer, CAO. Third, the Chief Accounting Officer, the CAO. The CAO is the senior financial authority, usually a ministry secretary or head of department. They appoint the procurement committees, delegate approval powers, and ensure every decision follows the rules and has available funds. The CAO is the gatekeeper of public money. Consultant Procurement Committees, CPCs. Fourth and most hands-on, the Consultant Procurement Committees, CPCs. These are independent juries of experts. Who decides the selection and employment of consultants? There are 4 types. CPCC, Cabinet-appointed committee for the biggest, most valuable contracts. CPCM, Ministry Committee for mid-range national procurements. CPCD, Department Committee for smaller assignments. CPCP, Project Committee for project-specific hires. The CPCs do the actual evaluation, shortlisting firms, scoring technical proposals, opening financial envelopes, and recommending who wins the contract. Because they are separate from the PE, they create a firewall against bias and corruption, a core principle of good governance. As we discussed, there are 4 types of consultant procurement committees, or CPCs. Let's look at each one in detail. First, the Cabinet-appointed committee. This is for the biggest and most valuable contracts. It is appointed by the National Procurement Commission, under delegated authority from the Cabinet of Ministers. The chairman shall be the secretary to the line ministry. There must be 4 members in total. And 1 member must have good knowledge of consultant selection procedures. What are the thresholds? As per the latest supplement, 250 million rupees or more for national projects and 500 million rupees or more for international projects. That's the highest level of approval for the largest, most critical assignments. Next, the CPCM, or Ministry Consultant Procurement Committee. This committee handles mid-range contracts, below the highest threshold, but still significant. The CPCM is appointed by the Chief Accounting Officer, the CAO. The chairperson shall be the secretary or additional secretary to the line ministry. The committee must have at least 4 members. However, for hiring individual consultants, the minimum is 3 members. And just like the CPCC, 1 member must have good knowledge of consultant selection procedures. What are the thresholds? As per the latest supplement, for national projects, less than 250 million rupees. For international projects, less than 500 million rupees. For simpler methods like CQS or SSS, national projects less than 50 million and international less than 200 million rupees. The CPCM is the workhorse for most ministry-level consultant hires. Now the CPCD, or Department Consultant Procurement Committee. This committee handles smaller contracts, typically within a single government department. The CPCD is also appointed by the Chief Accounting Officer, the CAO. The chairperson shall be the head of the department. Like the others, the committee must have at least 4 members, or 3 when hiring an individual consultant. And yes, 1 member must have good knowledge of consultant selection procedures. What are the thresholds? As per the latest supplement for competitive methods like QCBS or QBS, national projects are less than 50 million rupees. International are less than 100 million rupees. For simpler methods like CQS or SSS, national projects less than 10 million rupees and international less than 50 million rupees. The CPCD is perfect for department-level assignments. Not too big, not too small, keeping decisions closer to where the work actually happens. Finally, the CPCP, or Project Consultant Procurement Committee. This committee is for project-specific consultant hires, often tied to a particular development project or temporary initiative. The CPCP is appointed by the Chief Accounting Officer, the CAO. The chairperson shall be the project director. The committee must have at least 4 members, or 3 for individual consultants. And as with all CPCs, one member must have good knowledge of consultant selection procedures. What are the thresholds? The CPCP typically handles the smallest contracts among the 4 committees. For competitive methods, national projects are less than 50 million rupees and international less than 100 million rupees. But note, for simpler methods like CQS or SSS, national projects less than 10 million rupees and international less than 50 million rupees. In some cases, for very small assignments under 1 million rupees nationally or 10 million internationally, the CAO or even the project director may act directly upon a committee's recommendation. The CPCP is nimble, designed for fast, focused decisions. 4 committees. CPCC for the biggest contracts, 250 million national, 500 million international. CPCM for ministry level. CPCD for the department. CPCP for projects. Lower thresholds for simpler methods. That's the quick glance. Quick glance. So to recap Chapter 2, NPA makes the rules, PE needs the consultant, CAO guards the money. CPCs choose the winner. 4 players, 1 fair system. That's how good governance works. Hey, if you want to never miss a future upload, hit that red subscribe button, then click the bell icon right next to it. From the pop-up, choose all notifications. That way, every time we drop a new video, you'll get an instant alert. Let's grow together. Subscribe and turn on the bell now.